The goal of the show is to help you break in and thrive in advertising, and we do that every single week by sharing the stories and advice of those rocking it on the other side. Advertising news you need to know in 60 seconds is on our LinkedIn. It is the best way to stay informed about this industry. It is so fun. You got to follow us on LinkedIn at Breaking Entering Media and turn on post notifications so you know what to talk about with your friends, your coworkers. It'll help you break in. Today's episode is one of my favorites of all time. We have on Mo Saeed, the founder and CEO of Mojo Supermarket, one of the most exciting indie agencies out there today. Mo's journey cracks me up. He faked his transcript, his high school transcript, to get into Michigan State. And then he started crashing pitch meetings, sleeping on couches just to stay in New York. Mo is the walking definition of hustle. So we're going to talk about his path, growing up in Pakistan during a time of cultural silence, to discovering his creativity through advertising by pure accident, and eventually building one of the most culturally relevant agencies today. The first steps, how he hacked together his first portfolio, cracks me the frick up. You're going to love it. He started making ads about his friends and just random stuff. But his mentality, the way he talks, what he's up to is inspiring, especially for me as a young business owner now. I hope to stay close with Mo. You're going to love it. Check out Mojo Supermarket. Connect with him on LinkedIn. If you like what you hear, please give this show 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. But really, the big call to action is to follow us on LinkedIn. That's the most important thing. Now, on with the show for Mo. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. And as usual, I'm your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Mikey. Mo Saeed, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. How the heck are you today, sir?
Thank you. Dude, you have a great radio voice. Like, were you just hiding that the whole time we were talking before this?
Of course.
Oh, this is great. Yeah.
Yours is as well. I'm pumped to talk with you, man. I've been following you along since you started Mojo Supermarket 2017, 2018?
2018.
2018. Good year. Jack, what were we doing in 2018? I think we were in college still, partying.
My legal team has advised us to not talk about 2018.
Okay, thank you, Jack.
Trouble
but
time.
You guys have been crushing, and you're the founder and CEO. So I want to learn about you. I want to learn about your early days, how you broke into this business, what's going on at Mojo Supermarket today, and any advice, and we'll kind of get into it. How does that run a show sound?
Let's go. Yeah, sounds great.
Outside of advertising, what is Mo like? What do you like to do? What's your vibe? Non-work related.
I play music. I like to write songs that nobody's heard. I will write songs, put them in a book, hide them away. I play music with friends. I have a basement which has like a music setup.
I saw that on a call. You got some guitars in the background.
Yeah.
So what instruments you playing? What do you
I
rocking?
play a little bit of everything, not well anything. I have a piano that lately I've been into. I started off with the drums, played guitar, played all the things. I sing. I bought a piano like 2-3 years ago. Now I'm writing songs on there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long have you been playing instruments for?
Since I think I got drums when I was like 16 years old.
Nice.
But I grew up in Pakistan, and so like there's not much of a during that time. If it was after 2001, definitely much after 2001, and like there wasn't a scene of like playing music. Theaters were closed, there weren't movies playing, music wasn't playing, the concerts were canceled and all that stuff. So it was a time of like almost no creativity. And also being a musician, they are not that very respected or cool in any way.
Okay.
And all that stuff. So I kind of just diverted from that, and I was like, walked into an advertising agency basically like accidentally because my friend's dad worked there. And I was just like, what the fuck are you guys doing? And it's just like, we're doing all the things that you like making movies and videos and making songs and doing all that stuff. And it's more interesting. And I was like, oh, that sounds like business. Mm-hmm. Like I can sell people around me on business. And that's how I got into it.
Interesting. So I'm curious then, like, do you have siblings? Like
siblings, yeah.
Are you the youngest? Where do you fall in that?
I'm the youngest. We're like in Pakistani families that were just assigned like occupations at birth, basically. My brother was supposed to be a banker. He's a banker. My sister was supposed to be a lawyer. She's a lawyer.
Good.
I was supposed to be a doctor. and I would make a terrible doctor.
You're a doctor for brands,
Yeah,
maybe.
there you go. Brand
Okay.
doctor is what my grandfather probably meant.
Okay, interesting. Well, being the youngest, I kind of assumed you the youngest in that because you got that creativity, a little bit of rebellion, I
Yeah.
would say, because you didn't follow that traditional path that they wanted for you. So then, how did you discover advertising? You said a friend's dad was in the industry.
Yeah.
Where were you at? What were you wearing when you first figured out about advertising?
I think crop tops were in, and I was probably into those. And I was, me being a very muscular guy, I was
course.
definitely into that. It was just like, there was I liked doing all this stuff. There was like a class project where we had to make a video, and I went to go partner with my best friend, now best friend, but then stranger. And I was like, oh, his dad does this kind of stuff, so he probably knows about this stuff. And I went to go partner with him, and he took me to his dad's office, and I was like, what are you guys doing? And it was like advertising. It was a small advertising agency in Lahore, Pakistan.
Gotcha.
And not like creatively anything you would think of. That's where the work goes to be versioned out and that kind of stuff. But I was like blown away because I was like, this is the most interesting thing.
How old were
ever.
you?
I was 18 years old, probably
Okay.
17 or 18 years old.
But you had that awakening pretty early for people.
Yeah.
With our show, we tell people the earlier you want to break into this business, even get a specific one, which role you want to break into, you have better chances of doing that.
Yeah.
When you walked in there, did you identify with creative, account, strategy? Did you get that far? Or were you just blown away?
I think
that
I was
this
just blown away. Initially, I didn't even spent time there shadow interning or whatever. I didn't really understand the departments and stuff. But he, let me kind of pitch stuff. I thought I was good at coming up with ideas. I didn't know that was a department. Over time, I realized I interned at Ogilvy in Pakistan, or just not a really actual intern, but when you just let a kid sit in the corner and just
How'd you
watch.
get that? So that first one that we talked about,
Yeah.
you walked in. Did you stayed there? Was that a job shadow for a while?
I
or-
did. I kind of just shadowed people or met up with people that I knew that were in advertising. And there's two people I knew. One was my brother's friend, and one was my friend's dad.
Got it.
And I kind of just learned. I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. Then I was applying for school to the U.S. and I literally just wrote in, and I was too late to apply. I literally just wrote an advertising program, and no one phrases it advertising program. So there was 3 colleges: Michigan State, Arizona State, or whatever. And I wanted to go to a big state school, so I just click, applied 3, and I ended up at Michigan State.
Interesting. Yeah, let me look that up now. Advertising.
I think there's Syracuse. There's definitely colleges I couldn't get into as well. I'm not naming those, but. I also had faked my transcript to get into even Michigan State.
You faked your transcript.
Yeah, I knew Photoshop.
Nice.
And I was very, maybe not the best student at that time, but I just Photoshopped a transcript, and I was really, really bad at test taking. I sat in the SAT for about 14, 15 minutes. I couldn't stand it. I have terrible I need to get up syndrome.
Yeah.
And then I just Photoshopped a transcript, and I got into Michigan State. I don't know why, but you shouldn't have to Photoshop a transcript to get into Michigan State. They'll kind of take people, but that's how I
What do
applied
you
today.
add on to that? An extra class, AP courses,
No, I went for modest 3.4 or 3.5.
golden.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Not overpromising. I didn't want to get caught.
Right, but it
Yeah.
worked.
It worked. Yeah.
And then you got into Michigan State. So that was your first foray into the U.S.
Yeah.
For a long term.
Yeah.
Got it. And then what was that culture like? Was there shock in there? What was Michigan's East Lansing, I believe, is where it's located. It's a nice campus.
Everyone majority of people that are at Michigan State are from Michigan. Mm-hmm. So even if you are from Chicago, you feel a little out of place.
Really? So
there was a girl I met early on. She was like, "Oh, I'm from Chicago. This place makes no sense. I want to go back." And she quit school. And for me, it was just so different that it was amazing. You're just kind of learning something new. I'm okay with change. And I just kind of got dropped into America. For a while, I thought Michigan was America. Does that make sense? I thought whatever that culture was how everybody does everything. And I didn't notice the subtle difference.
right. On that campus, you thought that was
Yeah, kind of this is how people live.
Okay.
There's a lot of Midwestern things that now I can identify as a Midwestern, but at that time I was just that's just how America works.
Got it.
I also didn't have a lot of I couldn't afford a lot of tickets back home, so I would stay for like Christmas with a friend or something.
Yeah.
And then that's like a Michigan basement is like a great way to figure out American culture. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you spend a Christmas with somebody
Yeah.
and you've never done that before. They're just doing the everyday motions and you're like, oh, in the morning people are excited. At night people weren't. You know, just like you kind of like watch a culture happen
Yeah.
as an outsider, but from the inside of a family. And that really like helped me learn what America was.
How long is the flight back home?
Too long.
Too
Like on 3 flights, and the first one is like you have to go to either Dubai and then onwards for like 2-3 hours. So like 18-hour journey.
Damn. Okay. Understood. Yeah. So that makes sense. Not a lot of flights back home. So you're studying what? You got into advertising?
Yeah. It ended up being like more of a communications degree.
Yeah.
No one in the advertising program except for one professor had ever worked in advertising.
Do you remember the name? Was it Greg?
No. Larry
Larry.
Steinberg. Larry Steinberg.
Shout out to Larry.
Yeah.
I love those professors. They're like the gatekeepers. Like there's a few on every I went to Illinois, so another Big Ten school. There's a few professors that have that experience. They're usually like lecturers.
Yeah.
Or like professors of practice that have agency
He taught
experience.
copywriting. There was only 2 copywriting classes, one copywriting and advanced copywriting. He taught copywriting. I went to I only failed 2 classes, almost failed 2 classes that year. It was math and copywriting. And I ended up being a copywriter. And I remember him coming out and be like, hey, I hope you come up for advanced advertising. And I was like, oh, I can't qualify for that because you basically almost failed me. And he was like, yeah, but you've got it. Come. And he was just like, because I think I didn't do well in that class because I cared about it. You know what I mean? Like I was like late with assignments and shit because I was like, oh, I care about this thing.
Okay, that makes sense. You were so passionate. Yeah. You want to keep refining. So that makes sense. So then you took copy too? Like
I did. Basically those were the 2 creative classes
Yes.
that were like, and then I was like, okay, copywriter feels like a thing that I want to be.
Okay, so we've identified the major, and now your specialization in copywriting as an undergrad. How do you break in post-grad?
I didn't. So I went to like the office in a university that finds you jobs.
Yeah, Career Center.
There you go.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, there's one copywriting job. It's in Lansing, Michigan, but you probably won't get it. And I was like, oh shit.
Bring it.
What do I do now? And they're like, you have to go to portfolio school. And I was like, what is portfolio school? They're like, you go there for 2 years. You have to pay a certain amount of money, live in a major city, and what you walk out with is a portfolio. And I was like, what is a portfolio? Can you show me? And they showed me, and I was like, so it's a website full of fake ads? Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, you got it. And I just went straight from there to Best Buy, and I had my last $1,200, and I spent $850 on a camera, and I was like, I'm gonna make some fucking fake ads. And I made a fake ad about me. I made a fake ad about my roommate. I didn't even know what I was doing.
What'd you say
know what
about your roommate?
It was just like, I loved my roommate. He's one of my best friends still. And he had like a fun picture with his mustache, and I don't even remember what the ad was.
Yeah.
And I made an ad for a chair or something, and I just like made a portfolio together, and I was like, okay, $120,000 or whatever it is, plus 2 years saved.
Yeah.
And applied to internships.
Did it work?
I weaseled my way into this, like, when there was these things called not multicultural agencies.
Yeah.
That like took the Verizon ad and then made it in Spanish. Mm-hmm. And I got a job there in New York. It was a Detroit agency and had a New York office, and I kind of like got an internship at the Detroit office, tricked them to transfer me at New York, got there, and that's how it started.
So let's pause there. What would you do differently today if you were just graduating in 2025, knowing what you know now? How would you break in today?
I think I would do the same. I would like make a portfolio. You know what I mean? Like, I have to see how your brain works, mm-hmm. and there has to be a window to your brain. Mm-hmm. And people have been charging 2 years and a bunch of time to help you develop that, and that's okay. Like, I think some people do need that. And
some
if you
structure.
have that opportunity, I would do it 100%. Now, more and more so, you can jump from college to this thing. So I would honestly, if you're passionate enough, spend your last ticket, spend the money you save for a ticket back home and buy a camera and fucking make your portfolio and start sending it to people.
Would you do spec work for brands, or would you?
Yeah,
take
now
that same
I would
approach?
not make it for my roommate, but maybe that helped me stand out,
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I would do the most interesting thing, like the thing that made me laugh and the thing that made me interested, because I think that's what people are trying to see. Like, what kind of work do you laugh at, or what kind of work do you think is good?
Yeah, I mean, like, this is the only time making spec work that you won't have rounds of approval and budget restraints and clients killing it. So you can think as big as you want. And that's also kind of debilitating too. Thinking about, you can pick any brands, anything, any person, and make ads for. It can look like whatever you want. So
Yeah.
any guidelines on like parameters there?
I wouldn't pick brands everyone, don't pick Nike. You know what I
course.
mean? I've seen enough good work for Nike. Nike's
Yeah.
a very defined brand. Like, pick something else. And just, like, think about, I know too much now. And you're saying if you didn't know enough. But when I knew even less than that, I was making ads for my roommate. And that worked because it was such an absurd thing. And after I'm watching like ad for Nike, ad for Nike, ad for Nike, an ad for like some guy at Michigan State stands out. And you're like, what the fuck is this ad for?
Yeah, that makes sense. And then what do you look for now? Like, you're an agency owner, founder. So in junior books, mid-level books, like, is there a common denominator or something that you see and you're like, I love this, I'm going to hire this person?
I think I'm trying to look for an idea. And I think, like, I saw you guys, right? This is an amazing idea. What you're doing with the 60, okay, there's a problem that needs to be solved. I don't read these things. How do I get my news? And you've solved it. And your board is broken. This light is crooked. Like,
There,
a bunch
yeah.
of stuff is wrong.
Jack's a little crooked too.
But I think you shouldn't worry about that, because I see the idea and I was just like, oh yeah, I want to be on that.
Yeah.
Right? So I think as long as you have an idea, people will see it now more so than ever before. Because, before I had to find a friend who knew Photoshop and like make me the perfect comp and like buy a camera and like, you know what I mean? Like, I spent my last remaining money on that. And now you just don't have to. And I think people worry too much about like, is it perfect? And that's the mentality I'm no longer looking for in advertising. I think that's a generation of advertising that I've got tons of people, and I'm trying to move towards people who don't have that arresting fear. So the more you can show that you just have cool ideas and you can get them out.
I mean, that's your job as like a creative director in that sense, to find the good ideas, pull them out of your juniors and build on it. And we've talked about in the show quite a bit, like the idea of proliferation of ideas at that junior level. Like, you're not expected to hit home runs for the most part when you're just starting off in an agency. You just got to create a volume, and then over time you'll be able to hit like that higher rate percentage of like the home runs later on. So that kind of folds into it. You're gonna see that within these books and these people and their ideas.
I think I gave a speech once called, and I was already hired, and I was a copywriter, and the title was, I wish I was an intern. I think that's my favorite job, because as an intern, you can't get fired. You're gonna serve out your sentence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Your sentence. I like that.
You have the best briefs. People think that you have the worst briefs, because the thing that is in the banner or the whatever, the like social post or whatever that thing is the most important thing that the brand wants to say, but everybody's distracted by the other stuff, right? So if the pants are $30, that's what they really want to say. And then a man on a horse just be like, pants are amazing. Like, that's the stuff that they don't need to say, but are inevitably saying. So you've got, hey, pants are $30 now. And you can make the most impressive idea off of that nobody's expecting you to bring. And then you can bring that idea and say, hey, what if we made this thing? And so you have the best briefs in the business, and you have no expectations, and you cannot get fired by doing something bold. It's like the best job ever. It's the best time ever to do something like amazing.
And you get a lot of eyes on you. People want to help you out for the most part at good shops. So that is really nice.
If an intern walks up to an art director and said, hey, I would really appreciate if you could comp this for me, they'd be like, sure. I think the nicer ones.
Yeah. Interesting. And I also got to give a shout out. You guys I think you guys were the first to put out like the Spotify Wrapped for agencies on that Google Doc.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That just popped in my head because I actually use that template at my old agency job and like made my own joke about it. And
Yeah.
presented that. I just want to shout that out.
Thanks.
Was that made by an intern or you guys?
It was made by somebody on the team. I had zero things to do with it. The fun part about my job now
Yeah.
is I am like the kid at the party, right? Like I am a creative who is at a party where people are like, hey, so we're gonna make this thing, like, or I see it online, or somebody, like a friend, how I saw the Spotify thing, somebody sent it to me and they were like, this is hilarious. And I was like, this is hilarious. And I was like, wait a minute, this is Mojo Supermarket.
Yeah.
You know, like I get to, or see ideas where like, hey, Caroline thought of this cool thing. I'm like, oh my God, that's awesome. So I get to be the client or kid in candy store now. And that was one of these ideas that I also saw. And I was like, this is hilarious.
I love it. I love it. I just had to throw that out there. I got a good amount of jokes when I presented my version of it off your template. So I got to give you credit for that.
That's
and
awesome.
the agency credit for that.
I take no credit. It's the team that did it.
Hell yeah. So you broke into New York, a multicultural agency that was Michigan headquartered, but now you're in like a New York office. That's the break-in. Copywriting was the track from there. Is that correct?
Yeah, I do that. I intern at BBDO for like a full year. I get let go from that internship.
Okay.
And
Was this like a
then-
trial internship where it's like...
No, it was like a 3-month internship that I found like an extension to and an extension to, and then the extensions ran out and I ran out of internship.
Okay.
And I was like, at my last, like, I have to go back home. My parents are like, we'll send you the last ticket. You could just kind of come back home. And I was just like, I can't go back home. If I go back home now, it's all over. And I just kind of stayed at somebody's place and got that internship again. I wanted one more extension because I found somebody that I thought could hire me. And I just brought in ideas every day to that person. I knew that the creative director on Visa could hire one person or one team, one junior team. And I was just like, I'm just going to show up every day with ideas.
Damn.
Yeah, I showed him, I was like, why don't you show me your book? And I was like, I knew my book wasn't good. So I was just like, no. The book could be fake, Don. Like, just give me an idea. Just give me a brief. Any brief.
Yeah.
And he's like, really? And I was like, any brief. And he gave me a brief, and I just stayed up 36 hours, came back with like a ton of ideas. He's like, this is good. And then I just kept coming back with more and more ideas. Made friends with a project manager who would find me time in his office and just like every day.
Incredible. And then you got the job?
I got the job. I worked, including that year internship, I worked at BBDO for 3 years.
Nice. Who was the CCO at the time?
The CCO was David Lubars and Greg Hahn.
Yeah, that's a good time to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good duo there.
Yeah.
Did you ever get to like talk with them, like learn from them directly?
No, I never interacted with them. I was like the like bottom of the ocean, and they were the yacht on top of the ocean. you
Yeah, I
know?
mean it's a huge organization now. Like
yeah.
to get
but
to
they,
them.
but like I heard from them, they presented stuff, and
Yeah.
and
that's pre-pandemic, I'm assuming.
yeah. It was I started at BBDO 2012, and I ended at BBDO 2015.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And biggest lesson there, just come up with volume of ideas, really good ones all the time.
I think the biggest lesson is that, but it's also like to have fun and create, like be around people that you enjoy.
Yeah.
My later lesson is be around people who scare the shit out of you creatively. But that first lesson was definitely like be around the people that you enjoy hanging out with after work, and then you don't have to talk about work because they're just like fun people to be around.
Yeah. Who scared you the most in your
At
career?
Droga 5, it was different. So in 2015, I made this thing, ended up going into Droga 5.
What was the thing that you made? You got like poached or?
No, just made like a piece of work that could like get me forward. I made this like...
This is your baby. What was it?
Well, the first thing was for CVS, we replaced all the cigarettes. CVS used to sell cigarettes.
Okay.
And we replaced all the cigarettes with this pack that helped you quit smoking. It was
Okay.
called The Last Pack. And then we just gave it out for free. So I made that, and then that's the first thing that I was like, okay, I produced something that's interesting. And then worked with a partner to make a book together, and we ended up at Droga 5.
Interesting.
And Droga 5, the culture was opposite in many ways. But what the cool part about that, it was like a very hardworking culture.
Yeah.
And very like, the creative bar was really, really high. And you sat down and you just kind of it scared the shit out of you. But like in a also challenging, fun way. You sat around people that were like, oh, that girl's a really good writer.
Yeah.
she'll fuck you up.
Yeah,
You know, like
that's good.
that's also a good feeling to have. Be like, oh man, fuck.
Yeah. And that was pre-acquisition by Accenture?
Yeah, that was 2015. I think Accenture acquired them in after I left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some would argue there were better days. Those were the better days.
Yeah, I didn't get, you know what, like at BBDO or Droga 5, I didn't get to work any of the fun stuff. Like I worked on banks most of my career, and I worked on like pharmacy, and I worked on like some telecom. I wasn't the guy you go to for, I don't know if it was just all of us. I'm the guy you pull on like a bank. I don't know why. I think it was probably all of us that weren't from here or something. They were like, oh yeah, just throw them out. And I just kept getting bank after bank, and I went to Droga 5, and they were like, it seems like people like you at BBDO, why are you leaving? And I was like, I just can't work on finance anymore. They're like, good thing we don't have anything. And I like showed up one day and it was finance. Not that I hate finance now. I think I would do, now I'm like, we just got our first finance client. I was like, this is fun. Because like I hadn't done it for a while, but I was doing that straight 6 years. I didn't work on the things that you think I worked on when I say Droga 5.
Okay.
I was
fair.
making like a how many checks can you put in an ATM at once commercial. But
Okay.
shot by an Oscar-winning director, by the way, which is like the weird. But that's where my brain started breaking for the first time.
Who was
where
the
we're like-
director?
I worked with Wally Pfister, who's a like Inception cinematographer, just the best cinematographer in the world. Shout out Wally, and Catherine Bigelow, the very first female Best Director Award director. I shot like again bank commercials with both of these people, and then at that time I was like, wait a minute. This is an ad to tell people how many checks you can put on an ATM, and we're shooting it with an Oscar-winning person. Like, cool for me as a creative, but then just that's where it started breaking in my head. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This isn't how it should work. And, you know, that started the unraveling of what is advertising? Why do we make it this way? Why do we spend this money? Why do we make it this way? Who sees it? Do we pay people to watch? You know, just like it broke my first
Interesting.
belief in like how advertising works.
Interesting. And then from there, then like when did the idea start to create your own shop?
I think from there, like the frustration of, you know, I was doing what we call in the biz side projects, which you guys are familiar with.
Big time.
I would do those on the weekend, and they would like get a lot of attention.
Like what?
Like a bunch of them. I'll give you an example. One is like there was a big protest at that time where the United Airlines had like dragged off a passenger off the plane, and there was like a big news, and everyone's like, I'm never flying United again. So I made this program where if you just installed it, you will never see a United flight again on any of your searches ever.
Interesting.
And people installed that, and they lost like millions of dollars, and I was like, oh fuck, they're gonna come after me. You know, just
Oh,
like
yeah, you're done
that
for.
kind of stuff. But it would get like picked up by press, and like people talk about it, and people engaging with it and all that stuff.
How'd you
And
make that? It was like
just code like
you coded that?
No,
thing?
I had a friend who did, and I understand that world. There's a lot of the Mojo projects and a lot of my personal projects, if you see, they're like very tech, very
Yeah.
I have like I used to code, launched that, like just would do stuff like that all the time, and I think my brain started breaking where I was like shipping off this commercial that we had spent millions and millions and millions of dollars making, and then nothing. And also like the version, I worked on a 90-second beautiful version, but the one I saw in the bar when I was watching basketball was like, chase ATMs, and then it's like gone, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's not what I made at all. And like kind of started doing the math of like, okay, how does advertising work? Advertising is they spend all this money making this thing, and then we pay people to watch it, whether they want to or not. And it's an annoyance at best, right? So even if it's the funniest thing, it's a funny annoyance instead of like, oh my God, did you see that? These guys are doing this thing. And the thing that people are writing about or sharing or whatever, that's the opposite. Where like, oh my God, did you see? And so I had this disc, and it was free. Like people were finding out for free. And I just kind of had like this disconnect, and I was like, okay, I feel like a lot of people my generation at that time felt that like the stuff that they were making when they opened up their Instagram, if it showed up, they were like, ugh. But we weren't fully thinking about that way. And I'm not saying we shouldn't make ads. I think we should make ads, and we should make good ones. But like we weren't. I don't know if advertising's goal was to be interesting. Where our goal in advertising is to get people interested in a brand or a product.
Yeah.
And the way to do that, if you're at a bar, is to be interesting or have a lot of money and buy everybody drinks. And it's the second that all advertising was doing. And people were just like buying like, hey, here you go. And it's easy to feel interesting when you're buying a bunch of people drinks. And as soon as you cut off the drinks, those people leave.
Yeah.
Right? So I was just like, oh, I want to make stuff that people get interested in because they find it interesting.
Right.
And it changes the way they think about something.
Got it. So then how does that go into creating your own shop?
I think it, again, like just like the making ads for my roommate, it just goes to back the idiot belief that how hard could it be? You know, just like the stupid, I remember like movie style, I'm holding a box, walking out of Droga 5 and a bunch of people are laughing that I'm going to go start my own thing. Like no like shade on them because I was laughing. I was just like, what a ridiculous idea. And I'm like walking out of this door. It was just like, we're going to do it this way. And my partner at that time my creative partner had moved to Colombia and he wasn't doing anything. And I called him and I was like, hey man, can you make a logo? And he's like, for what? And I was like, an agency. And he's like, what agency? And I was like, don't worry about it. And I kind of just don't worry about it until it worked. Mojo Supermarket sounds fun now, but at that time I bought because mojosupermarket.com was like $40 and this was $10.
Oh yeah.
You know, just like
yeah.
it's not like all the things happened. They happened that way. The first email I made it for my friend Garrett because I was like, let's make mine later, see if it works. And it was like a $5 difference. And I was like, no, let's hold off and see if this works. And it feels like everybody's waiting for this decision time. And I think you sometimes don't have to make like such a big, it feels bigger than it is. You guys have started something, like it feels bigger than it is. You do something, it works out, you go somewhere else, you do something and you're like, okay, let's keep kicking this ball until there's no ball. Like we just moved out of our office. The first time we signed a lease for that place, they were like, okay, so normal leases are 10, 15 years. And I was like, 10, 15 years? Man, we're going to be out of business in 60 days, my friend. And I lowered the lease down to 3 years, which has actually got me a really bad deal because they didn't help pay for constructing or anything. Like, I didn't know any of this stuff. But at that time, I was like, we're not going to be in business in 3 years.
Yeah, no way.
But now that office has come and gone, the lease has come and gone, we've renewed it and come and gone, and we're building a new office, like, from scratch.
Oh, nice.
And it's just, like, if people think it's, like, somebody who's so confident who's just like, I'm going to fucking acquire BBDO. And it's not. It's just, like, goals, and you get to somewhere and you're like, all right, now let's aim for that and see if we hit that. It's kind of like the throwing the paper in the wastebasket thing and you hit it and you're like, push it a little further, see what happens. It's
Step
that.
back a little farther.
Yeah.
Interesting. So then what was like that first milestone goal that you hit that you're like, wait, we actually have something?
To be honest, like probably being on this podcast.
Bump it.
Yeah.
No, give us some Jack some love too.
No,
Too.
why I'm being actually serious about this is I think this is a flaw. I think you have to set actual goals and be happy about them. And I'm one person who we immediately won an Adidas project. And yes, it was so exciting. But I'm like one of those people who can just like see forward and not see back. Yeah. And that's also like half disease, right? And you just see like, wow, what do we do now? And like we've just been, what do we do now? And now I've made a business, I'm an advisor in business and all that stuff, and I now know how important it is to plan your life and your business and all that stuff. But we won Adidas immediately, and we won an Adidas project. The first project we did, it won an award. And I got a desk in a WeWork. We hired our first person. COVID happened. We lost all our money. And then I was pitching while I had COVID. I was like fall asleep middle of the pitch. We got our first AOR. We hired our first account person. Till that, there was just like a bunch of creatives. There's all the milestones. I feel like the podcast friendly milestones are definitely not the like personal milestones. The personal milestones might just be like as small as an art director came to interview, and she was wearing a blazer, and she was holding a Padfolio
That's
to a WeWork, and she said, "Where does everyone else sit?" And that's a memory in my head. And I was wearing like a sweatshirt with hot dogs on it, and there was no anybody else. And I was just like, they sit over there. They're all really busy. They would love to meet you. You know, and just like, so I think the milestones in my head are like very personal and emotional.
Yeah.
But I think agency-wise, which, by the way, I wanted to say, because if you're ever thinking about this, and I'm sure your milestones are personal and emotional about like some burger that you guys had with each other. I think I say all that to say, there's milestones on adage. If this isn't fun, then it's not a real thing, you know? And all my milestones are like Caroline starting the very first day and me being like, let's make a TikTok. And then we made like this dance TikTok, and I was like, this was so fun. Like that's a milestone to me. And then like winning an award isn't, almost sometimes. You know, it's just, to me, the milestones are like, remember when that person was here and when we did this thing? It was really fun.
I love it, man. That's great. That's great. So what else can we talk about? I think like the state of the industry, like AI, is it going to like take these junior creative jobs away? Like, I don't know, like any fun takes that you have on the industry today?
I'm going to obviously, I promise you I'm going to explain it, but I think AI is here to enlighten creatives. I think I'll explain the thing and then I'll tell you why not to panic. But I think as a creative, this is what we do, right? Talking. Like the best part of the job as a creative, or as a copywriter at least, or whatever, and there's one is thinking of the idea, which we're doing right now. We're thinking of ideas. And the number two is like crafting that idea, right? So whether you're a writer and you've put that together and you like tweak it and say, this is good, this isn't good, that might be better, let's grab that here. That's the second best part of the job. All the way to timesheets, there's like tons of stuff that you do, which is like click, clack onto a keyboard to get it in, like switch softwares, go on a Google Meet and sit there like you're supposed to be. Like there's a lot of stuff that happens in between that you won't have to do eventually. You'll just be talking to a computer and saying, what if it was blue and it shows you a blue, you know? So in that way, it is here to enlighten creatives. It is here to make the creatives the best creatives in the world. But I think I want to address the idea that every day you log on to social media or whatever, there is new tool that seemingly does your job, and it creates a lot of anxiety and panic within creatives. And I think no one's discussing that or addressing that, because I think we're all just like, yeah, well, we'll need fewer shitty ones or whatever. Man, there's like a lot of anxiety to being a creative right now. And we talked about it, every podcast I hear is just like, just be curious and just fucking do it. And it's not like, that's not the solution here. It is very panicky, man. Like I own an agency. I look at this thing every day and I was like, oh, that's what my identity is. And it goes away. Like every day I'm like, oh, I won't be able to be me. But I think it's the opposite. What's left in the world, or the thing that machine can't do yet, or won't be able to do for a really long time, is have taste. And that's what part of being a creative is, right? So if you're a creative director, let me start there for a second. Right now, somebody shows you 10 ideas and you say, I like that, but it should be this. I don't like that. Can you try that this way? Whatever. And then those people go away. And then they come back 1 week later. And then they say, is this what you thought? And we thought this way, and we thought, new set. And then you get to do this, not that, this, but this way again, right? But that process takes a week right now. That process can take, like, immediate, new thing. Yep. So what that means is every creative can be a creative director. Every creative is going to be a creative director. And every creative can be a creative director faster. You don't have to, like, sit in this like cult of advertising and pray for the gods.
Right.
Like you can be a very creative, you can act like a creative director every day.
Yeah.
So all that to say that being a creative person is going to be way more fun, but is also about to be way more valuable, actually, I believe. If you are a person of high taste, you're about to be overpaid, not underpaid. I think it's about to be like, I'm so excited for this era because I'm a creative. This means like, we're about to get LeBron James money. Like seriously, the best creatives in the world are about to get athlete money because they can pick and devise taste. The GSIs, the Accentures and the whatever Tata Consulting Services deal that have figured that out, by the way. That's why they're buying these like ultra creative people that are like, oh, we already have the tech stack. We need somebody to say, this is what the tech stack needs to do. And that's why they're buying those people. So overall, I want to say, as a creative, I've seen the business side. I run a business. I've advised a bunch of. We're good. We're honestly really good. We've never been better, because now another person can tell the machine what to do, and you can tell the machine what to do, and you have better ideas. Guess who's going to win? You're going to win. As I say, the people who are masking to be creatives, like the people who aren't great creatives but are like just the Mac monkeys of it all, I think it's very dangerous for them. I think if you think you're a good creative and you can believe in yourself, I think life is never going to be better.
I love that. Yeah, the taste thing, that differential between like where you're at and the taste. There's that famous video about like working hard to close that gap.
Yeah.
And being real with yourself. And
I think to do that, you have to do the thing I was talking about, like Droga 5. Maybe not that culture, but you have to find yourself at a very good school. And that school doesn't have to be Michigan State or Miami Ad School. You just have to be, like, it could be the agency that kind of you fit the vibe in and has, like, scary good people. It just has to be, like, people, go to a place that has a lot of really talented people and beg them to give you a job.
Absolutely.
Doing anything.
Yeah.
And just being around them will make you better at your taste and craft.
How did you develop your taste?
Every day, just like, I didn't stop doing that where they used to call my ECDs the right outside of my ECD's office, Mo's office, because I would just sit there, my computer, and then I would never be able to present. Wasn't allowed to present ideas to this person. I wasn't on any of the good briefs, but I would find the things that he was working on, and I would just sit outside his office, and as he would go to the bathroom, I'd be like, hey, Toygar, so you're working on Major League Baseball, right? So I was thinking about and then like wait for him in the bathroom and just be like, okay, so Jeter's retiring, right? So I had an idea, and then he'd be like, no, thanks. I'd be like, you got it. And then the next day just show up and be like, okay, so I heard you're working on Campbell's soup, right? So soup. It's warm. And just present an idea on the way there, and then it'd be like, this person's annoying as shit. But I loved that. It was fun for me to come up with a new idea and to do. Yeah, that's the guy.
That's the toy guy. I messaged him. I want to get him on the show.
I've been he wouldn't reply to me then, so I don't know if I can help you now. But it's just the, like, if you like coming up with ideas. Mm-hmm. I think your comment of like when you're a student, life feels. Your potential is unlimited because you can edit it yourself and you can write it yourself and you can present it yourself or whatever. And then as you go through this job, a few things happen. One, your belief in that idea seeing light of the day starts to determine your mood. Mm-hmm. Right? So I came up with 6 ideas. I didn't sell any ideas. They never went to client. The client never bought them. They didn't win an award. Like, your value starts going down the chain instead of being like, oh, dude, I thought it's an amazing thing. Have you heard? And then that is the fun for me. So if somebody immediately says, like, that doesn't work, I want to figure out a way that it does work. Or, like, I want to think about a new idea. That's the fun for me. And I think people start placing their... And also, the second thing that happens is you get people. You get an art director who can art direct better than you can art direct. You get an editor who can editor better than you. And to get that editor, you have to talk to a producer, and they're pretty full at the moment. Like, your ability to make things goes to shit. But then also the things you value, goes down the chain. And to win an award, so many things have to happen. You have to have an amazing idea. The thing has to work. They have to buy it. It has to run at the right time. The case study has to be, like, so many things have to happen for the thing that you value is so down the line that by the time you win it, you won't care about that thing because you will be on to the next thing.
Right.
So if you just close your eyes and think, what do I like? I like coming up with these fucking things. And every day I come up with a new thing. I light up, and that's the fun. Or when I hear, hey, Caroline came up with this idea. Shit. Okay.
What's the idea?
What do I do? How do I help? Like, can I be in it? Do you want me to present
invited?
it? Like,
Can I hang out?
To me, it's just like, that is still the joy. And I think I lost that joy within the Mojo Supermarket of it. It's like, you place your joy in the wrong things. And now it's back to, like, just the most fun idea is the most fun I will have.
I love it. Well, Mo, I learned a lot. How can people reach out to you if they have further questions? They want to pick your brain, or they want to work with you, or there's clients out there on the brand side. They want to be like, why aren't we working with these guys? What's the way to go?
mojosuper.market, because it was cheaper than mojosupermarket.com.
Absolutely.
That's the tagline.
You crushed it, man. Thanks so much for coming on. I appreciate it. We could talk for hours. I hope to stay in touch with you, man, because I see a lot of
Likewise.
similarities.
What you guys are doing is awesome. I
Thank
saw
you.
the news. It's great. And that's why I wanted to be part of this. And I think this is what we've been talking about. When you see a really good idea, you're like, this is it. This is awesome. This is awesome that this exists. And that's what we saw when you reached out. And I was like, fuck yeah, dude, let's do this. So thank you for doing this, because I think this genuinely is just a really good idea that helps people every day just scrolling. What is it? I don't read the things. Like, what is it? Just tell me.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
60 seconds or less. That's all you need.
Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. Thank you
sir.
very much.